Thank you guys all so much last week for all the comments and all that good stuff. It was wonderful. We're looking forward to another wonderful turnout and walking out today, walking out. I guess you just get up from your computer and walk to the other room, but you're going to walk away with some really valuable lessons on how you can use breath work today. It's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
It's almost like I feel like you invented it, Dr. Ron.
Uh, I think somebody else did that.
So somebody else did. You just capitalized on it.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. It is 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 5 p.m. Pacific, and everybody else knows where you are and what time it is there, hopefully. And this is our second of a 4-part mini series, and it's all about becoming the best you can and tools that will get you there. So, Dr. Ron Stotts, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. I'm hoping we all enjoy it and get a lot out of it.
I always do, and I'm sure that these folks will too. And so this week we're talking about breath work, and it is pretty amazing. I'm kind of new to the whole breath work thing, new being maybe about 6 months worth, and it's absolutely life-changing. So please, guys, really pay attention. Please, as you have questions, put them in the chat right then. I won't see them. Dr. Ron won't see them, but put them in the chat right then. And then at the end, we'll go through all of them. And the reason I'm saying do it right then is because if you don't, you'll probably forget that you had that question. And so this is an incredible opportunity to talk to a PhD in psychology who's an executive coach who makes a massive difference in people's lives. And you can ask him directly. You can ask him questions directly. So just put those in the chat as we go. And we will get rolling with our very first question. Drum roll, please. Bum, 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 bum. So how does breath work heal past trauma? Why is it so powerful?
Well, the truth is breath work helps to literally regulate the brain and the entire nervous system. So to begin with, breathing activates what I would call the parasympathetic nervous system, that rest and digest system that we have in there. And it promotes relaxation and really a deep sense of safety. So when you're breathing, consciously breathing, and I'll introduce different ways to do that, but it's really communicating to your mind and body that you're okay, everything's fine. And breathing also balances the vagus nerve, which is the largest part of the parasympathetic nerve, and it shifts your body from a trauma response to a more regulated state, one that where you're able to handle what's going on, you're breathing comfortably. So I think in terms of breathing also helps past trauma by releasing stored stress hormones. So you're literally healing the body as you breathe. And that reduces chronic stress and anxiety. So again, think in terms of not breathing disconnects, breathing heals and connects. That makes sense? In
It really does.
relationship, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
Okay. In relationship to emotional and psychological healing, breathing is, and certainly a big way that I use it, accesses the subconscious mind. And that allows you to, those repressed emotions, things that you just can't remember, you don't know you're at the effect of, to surface. And it facilitates emotional release and deep healing, and again, breathing also it creates a feeling of safety in the body, which results in you having a greater sense of connection with yourself. And that enhances the body's awareness, which reduces any feelings of disconnection from your thoughts. So a lot of times people might not realize it, but they really do feel disconnected from themselves. And that's mirrored in their disconnection with others. And this really brings a deep healing to all that. And it helps people be in the present moment and learn to regulate their emotions and heal. To me, a big thing that breathing is literally results in neurologically rewiring your brain. So, not breathing is rewired your brain also, but not in good ways that allow you to access the best of who and what you are. So there's the breathing patterns that I'm going to be sharing with you and the work that I do. It's really neurologically rewiring your brain, which on a more traumatic level also reduces symptoms of PTSD and decreases hypervigilance and panic attacks that, people who have greater challenges often, are at the effect of. So overall, breathing practices, they increase your self and your awareness of yourself and your awareness of others, makes it safe for you to acknowledge and explore and heal trauma. If you're not breathing, it's just not safe to look deeper within. So it's by using that healing that really guides you into that. And it gives you a greater focus, opening up your awareness and giving you a greater understanding of what's going on. And that's necessary for that healing. All right. Now,
It,
go ahead.
it is. And I do want to follow up on that just a little bit though. Because I remember when I first started working with you and you would say that, you would say, not breathing. And I'm thinking if I wasn't breathing, I'd be dead. So can you explain that a little bit, how people hold their breath when they're in a bad place?
Even on my first call with folks, I can, it's on a Zoom call, I can watch them and they, especially if something emotional comes up or they're concerned or they get way up in their head, they'll just stop breathing. And it's oftentimes just allowing them to become aware of how much they're not breathing, or how they diminish their breathing when they feel emotionally challenged or uncomfortable in any kind of way. And that, unfortunately, is normal for people. So there's a lot of, that a breath takes in energy, that oxygen that is transferred to all the cells in all of your body. It goes down in the lungs, goes to all the cells, and then back out, the CO2 is expressed. And so you're not bringing energy, that healthy energy that all of the cells in your body, your brain need to function. And so, yeah, it's critical.
It is crazy. I had no idea before I started working with you that literally when I'm upset, I am holding my breath. And that is the exact opposite of what I need to be doing. It's like the
Well,
exact opposite.
when
So
you're holding your breath, you're sending a message to your brain that says you're in trouble. So it really decreases your ability to access the best of who you are. So you're not going to be able to get out of whatever situation you're in, with any sort of elegance anyway.
I got a visual on that one. Oh my goodness. Okay, so breathing patterns and trauma. You said that trauma's in your body. Can you go into that a little bit more?
So are you looking for the connection between breathing patterns and trauma? Yeah,
I
yeah.
am,
So,
yes.
there is, of course, a direct connection between breathing patterns and our emotional and physical response to trauma. It's, it's as a child, if we have something happen to us and we don't know how to handle it, we literally hold our breath and store that experience deep inside our guts and to be looked at later when hopefully we have help or the ability to handle it. So trauma affects the breathing, and breathing certainly influences how trauma is processed in the body. For example, fight or flight, our breathing becomes shallow and rapid in chest breathing. With freeze, in responses, more breathing becomes irregular and restricted. With us often holding our breath when we're in that freeze pattern, reactive pattern. With a fawn response, this is when someone behaves in a kind of quiet place and wants to avoid conflict. You see a shallow, more constrained breathing pattern. With hyperventilation, you probably experience, you see fast, erratic, kind of panic mode, mouth breathing. So the real problem is, in those instances when that happens, you're certainly negatively affecting the body and the brain. But the problem is when trauma is unprocessed, when you don't really go back and heal all of that, this dysfunctional patterns, they become habitual. Keeping the body in dysregulation, and dysregulation is kind of when a person has trouble processing information and regulating their emotions. You find people, they have so much emotional backlog, maybe stored anger, that when something happens, that anger comes out, and it usually disproportionate to what the situation might be. So you have to clean up that emotional anger and or backlog, pain, suffering, shame, whatever it might be, hurt, fear, and in healing that backlog, then you become current with your emotions. When you're feeling something, it's something that you want to be present with because it's appropriate. So, just as trauma can disrupt breathing, consciously controlling your breathing, of course, can reprogram the emotional and psychological, physical responses. So, with trauma, we tend to diminish or hold the breath and often encapsulate whatever's going on and stuffing it down into our gut. I always talk about that cave within that we, through our childhood where we're trying to be accepted and figuring out what to feel, not to feel, what to express, not to express. We shove that into that cave and shut that door and try and make sure nobody knows that that's in there, because those are the things that we feel aren't acceptable, those aspects of ourselves that we're feel not are not acceptable. And of course, we're rejecting ourselves in that process. Completely normal and healthy as a child, not supportive at all as we become an adult. So breathing is the key to processing and releasing that emotional backlog. That's what healing the past and empowering the future is all about.
Golly,
Yeah.
seriously, breathing has that much power, something that we are all doing all the time, but most of us had no idea we weren't doing it very well.
Yeah.
How can we pay attention to our breath more?
Well, I think it's a choice. It's a choice where you listen to something like this and you go, wow, this is important. And so, you make a choice. Well, how much time do you want to invest in this? And maybe it's only a couple minutes a day, maybe 5, 10 minutes a day. But you sit quietly and you start paying attention to how your breathing's going. You compare it with when you're going for a walk or you're doing yoga or whatever your morning routines are. Just start paying attention to your breathing during that, or maybe accentuating your breathing. I've got a 30-day breathing into success program we'll talk about later. I want to give everybody a few modules of that so they have something to work with. But, maybe you're having different emotional responses. Well, in the middle of that, pay attention to how you're breathing. And what you're really doing is becoming more self-aware and becoming more aware of how you breathe, when you don't, when you go up in your head, when you breathe more shallowly, and just how that all works. So just a simple way to do it is just start sitting quietly and breathe in and breathe out. As you're breathing in, inwardly say, I'm, breathing in. As you're breathing out, inwardly saying, breathing out. And, just I'll go over that later with a couple of others, but it gives you the opportunity truly just to pay attention and increase your awareness of your breathing patterns. You can also, begin to notice when you're not breathing, as well as when it's more shallow. Lots of people, they rely on going up in their head when they're uncomfortable or some challenge comes up. Well, I understand that that's worked, but when my clients come to me, literally 90% of the time, it's because what's gotten them to where they are, and they're really quite successful, doesn't seem to allow them to continue to grow and develop. And that going up in your head and trying is one of the keys that got you to where you are, but it's also the key to what's holding you back. And so just, yeah, pay attention and begin to recognize various situations, triggers, circumstances related to your breathing patterns so that you get to know yourself better. Self-awareness is really the beginning of the journey. And the deeper you go into that, the better you're going to do.
I agree. Could not agree more.
Okay.
So how about some tips for people? Like, because this might be, we may have some people on here who are experts, but probably a lot of people are going, breath work? Like what? So can you give us some tips on how they could get started?
Well, maybe we should call it breath play. So,
I like that.
so again, decide how much time you want to invest in it. A couple minutes, 10 minutes a day, 3 times a day. It's a great way to start, but just find a quiet place where you can sit up comfortably and take in several deep breaths. And the simplest one is what I was suggesting before. As you're breathing in, inwardly say breathing in. As you're breathing out, inwardly say breathing out. And just let yourself play with that and relax. That will relax your body, relax your mind, give you more focus. But you can also begin to extend that inhale and extend that exhale and playing with that as much as you want. And we'll talk a bit more about that. You know, you can also add deeper breathing. In other words, as you're breathing in, your belly expands out. As you're breathing out, your belly relaxes in. And you can just feel that breath moving in, through, and out of your body. And really recognize that that's what connects you, not only to yourself, but to others, to the world around you. You know, as I've shared frequently, you know, that breath you're taking in is being exhaled by the trees and the plants around you, and that CO2 that you're breathing out is taken in by those plants. So it really literally is connecting you, making you a part of all that you're sitting in. You know, another breath is that people are familiar with probably is box breathing. You know, you're breathing into the count of 4, holding to the count of 4, breathing out to the count of 4, holding out to the count of 4. You know, what I really support my clients in doing is, yeah, that's a good start. But then begin to, you know, increase that count. You know, the breathing in and the breathing out, usually a count of maybe 10 or 12 is probably about maximum, but the amount that you're holding out and the amount that you're holding it in can really be extended to various levels, and those levels can take you into running into fears of expanding your consciousness, fears of death. And so you can literally work through those fears as you play with your breath and realize nothing to be afraid of. I can breathe in any moment, but let's see what comes up. Let's see how that feels. Alternate nostril breathing, it's really good right and left brain balancing breath. We'll talk about that in a bit, I think. You know, so just breathe and be curious. Watch how your breathing patterns respond to what's coming into your thoughts, into your life. Become aware of your breath.
Okay, just a little follow-up on that.
Sure.
Why do you say to yourself, breathing inward, breathing out? Why are you using language at that point?
Well, you know, I've been teaching meditation for well over 50 years, and meditation is really nothing more than a single pointed focus. You know, the whirling dervish, you know, dance in a circle. There's just, you know, and some people look at a yantra, some people have a mantra. Everybody has something. So breathing can be your single pointed focus. So the problem is the noisier your mind is, the noisier your meditation has to be. Because if I'm trying to sit quietly and meditate, but I've got a really noisy mind, I'm going to, you know, I'm not going to meditate for very long. I'm going to go, this doesn't work, and ignore it and move away. So all you're doing is sort of adding another element that helps you stay present and focused on the breathing as you do the in and out, saying that. Yeah.
Okay. I just want to clarify every little thing I can. So how about a step-by-step breathing guide that will help our people with their emotions? I mean, right now emotions are so high everywhere. Walk us through that, can you?
Let's do the alternate nostril breathing. That's a
Okay.
bit challenging, but it's interesting. Basically, you know, just it doesn't really don't worry about if you're doing it right or not. Just enjoy it. You know, so just take a big breath in. You know, you need to. You're going to be holding your nostrils and changing nostrils. So that's what this is about. So, and you can do that any way you want. You know. So
Nanu, nanu.
exactly. So think in terms of taking a nice big breath in. Go ahead and do that. And exhaling slowly and gently. Now just close your right nostril and breathe in through your left. And close your left and exhale through your right. Inhale through your right. Closing your right, exhale through your left. Inhale through your left. Closing your left and exhale through your right. Inhale through your right. and exhale through your left. Inhale through your left and exhale through your right. Inhale through your right and exhale through your left. In other words, you're shifting back and forth between the nostrils. And what happens is the right and left brain, it's like a baby when they're cross-crawling, that helps integrate the mind. So for an adult, this alternate nostril breathing helps, regulate and really reconnect the left and right hemisphere. And that does a tremendous amount in terms of relaxing the mind and the body.
Thank you so much for taking us through that. And
Yeah.
of course, I have to follow up on that.
Okay.
And why is it so important and how many people even realize that your left and your right and your frontal lobe really aren't talking to each other that much?
Well, that's a great point, because what's going on is as a child wants love more than anything else. I've asked that question all over the world, so I'm going to take it for granted that this audience knows that. A child wants not only love, but they want unconditional love more than anything else. And so what they do is they look to their immediate family of origin for, well, how do I get that? How does mom get it from dad? Dad get it from mom? Whatever the relationships might be. If they have older siblings, they look at how they get love. And they begin to see, for example, in my family, anger was not acceptable. And in my generation, fear was not acceptable for boys. So I learned that not even acknowledge or be aware of, and just to stuff down those emotions. And so, that was what I did, and I just lost track of what your question was, and I apologize. What was your question again?
No, it's all good. So why is it important and that
Okay.
doing this will make the
Because
brain integrate?
Yeah, because that pattern of not breathing is something that, most people continue to, whatever program for getting love they came up with as a child, they get addicted to, attached to, and they continue using that same pattern throughout their adult life. And, it never does get them the unconditional love they want. So, but it's the only thing they got. And so this helps us to heal that past emotional backlog, so that we begin to, instead of looking outside of ourselves for love and acceptance, we begin to look within ourselves for love and acceptance. Our mind gets quieter, and that corpus callosum, which is the connection between the right and left brain, begins to allow more messaging because the mind is quieter. The forebrain begins to develop as the mind gets quieter, so you aren't being triggered by your amygdala and reactive and to everything that's coming into your life. You're just seeing it from a bigger, more conscious perspective.
Okay. That was a big answer and a big word. What did you call that? Microcolossus or something?
The connection between the left and the right brain.
No, but what was it called? I really do want to know.
Now I'd have to think about it.
Oh no. Oh no. Look what I did to you.
Corpus callosum. Yeah.
There we go. Corpus
There we go.
callosum. Yes,
Yeah.
that's what I was going to say. That's
Yeah. There's really two
uh,
hemispheres, and that's the connection between the two of them. Yeah. And that's a
okay. And
big
so,
problem, because those hemispheres have different tendencies. The right is very logical and linear, and the the right is very big picture and spontaneous. The left is much more logical and linear. And so a lot of people really, they turn their brain into this specialized thing where they're so logical and linear, they don't have that bigger picture. And so it just diminishes they don't have access to higher levels thinking. And that's, again, when you're in leadership, you have to have a very agile, capable mind, and think in bigger pictures and be very quick to respond and take care of things. And if you haven't healed and become self-aware enough to develop emotional intelligence and to quiet and retrain the brain, neurologically rewiring the brain, you just don't have the ability to do that. It only takes a couple of months, and I watch huge results and shifts from that. But yeah, you've got to step back and do that.
you do. And it is amazing, guys. The results are, pretty indescribable, I would
Yeah.
say. It would be very hard to put it into words. So how does a consistent long-term breathwork practice, how will it help with healing? How will it help with personal growth?
Mhm. Well, just thinking, it's fairly logical. Just think in terms of if you're sitting quietly and breathing, you become more self-aware. There's a type of meditation called Vipassana, and that's really where you just sit, for hours, for about 10 days usually. And, but what's going to happen is when you're sitting there and breathing and not suppressing emotions, but allowing things to come up, you're becoming more self-aware. You're going to notice things, see things, and discover things that you thought you had hidden safely away. So, it increases that self-awareness and it helps to re-educate and reset the nervous system. So as you breathe, you're creating a space of safe emotional release as you sit there and recognize that when you're breathing shallowly, and I might have mentioned this before, but not breathing at all, you're communicating to your body that you're really in danger of some kind. And that's when you do that, the brain's amygdala fires and the fear goes off, and the chemical gates between the midbrain and the higher brain begin to shut down. And because you're in fight or flight, you're in reactive mode. The lion's going to get you as you're crossing the Serengeti, sort of where it came from. But unfortunately, or fortunately, in this day of age, we're not worried about lions. It's everyday things. But instead of being able to address those everyday decisions and reactions from a place of conscious, and higher level awareness and higher level thinking, we're, facing them from a place of fear and shutting our best abilities off. The parasympathetic system, the rest and digest system, nervous system, it just shuts down. So a lot of times people who don't breathe fully, that parasympathetic shut down and it takes care of digestion and so many, your heart rate and everything else. So they have digestive problems, they have heart problems, they have all, the lungs aren't breathing and sending all of that oxygen throughout their body. So they have diminished physical and mental capacity. They might be highly functional people, but not nearly as functional as they're capable of being. Your ability to access higher level thinking is truly just diminished. So, in contrast, using breathing practices and the therapy, and it just releases that trauma and opens up the breathing. Breathing in sports enhances that physical, emotional, and mental health. So, it's also allows you to be more present and focused and curious. And that's really the goal, to be truly successful, to be a high level leader. You have to be really living mindfully and be breathing, being curious and present with whatever's coming into your life, so that you can handle it from that more conscious place. So yeah. So, to me, it's all about what level of consciousness are you playing in, and breathing literally results in a deeper conscious connection within yourself and others. And that deeper connection raises your level of consciousness. You're more aware of what you're thinking. You're more aware of what you're feeling emotionally and physically. You're more aware of what level of awareness you're on at any given time. And that level of consciousness determines how you see, react, and experience everything that comes into your life. That's why so many people, because they really have this emotional backlog and they haven't healed, they're not breathing, is that they see everything as a challenge. Everything is, a difficulty. And but in through the healing process, you become very aware that those challenges are really opportunities. And you're always, through that new lens, really looking at whatever's coming into your life and looking for the opportunity within it. And it changes everything.
Everything.
Everything. Your relationships with
Everything.
yourself, others, your work, yeah, your health, certainly, everything.
It is indescribable. Once again, I'm using my word again. So are there specific patterns or breath things that you can do when you're like you get triggered and you are ready to blow? Help us, Doc. What do we do? We're about to blow.
Well, so you know that the mind's going to be rolling along pretty fully at that moment. So you have to give the mind something grounded and attention grabbing enough so that it focuses and breathes. And so the box breathing, and everybody, let's just do it. Just as you sit there, take a couple of gentle deep breaths and just breathe in. And then exhale, just relaxing that breath out. Breathing in, feeling your belly expand as you breathe in. And relax, just letting your whole body relax. Keeping your shoulders relaxed throughout. If you're breathing in and your shoulders are going up, that's just your breathing shallowly. You want to breathe down into your gut. So as we begin to get more focused and centered, just as you breathe in, count to 4, inwardly count to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now hold it in to the count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now exhale to the count of 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now hold it out to the count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So inhale through your nose to the count of 4. Hold that count to the 4. Exhale through your mouth to the count of 4. Hold out to the count of 4. And just continue that pattern. Breathing in through your nose, exhaling through the mouth. And as you continue that, really recognize that you're balancing your oxygen levels, your results in stability. Extending the exhale, of course, calms the emotions even further.
Okay, so a longer exhale. Somebody just tripped my trigger, and I breathe in and really give a good long exhale. If I can't make myself count to 4. I am a redhead, you know
That's
it.
exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah. I mean, if I'm going into something and I didn't have a transition time or whatever, I'm going to immediately go,
Get your peace. Just get your peace back.
and I'm back.
It's amazing. It's
Yeah. And if you have to do it a few
it
times,
sounds too good to be true, because nobody's making any money on this. It's your breath, guys. It's your breath, and it works, and it's incredible. So why is the combination of breathing and sentence finishing so powerful?
well, I happen to, of course, use that, and I'm kind of somewhat familiar with that. All of you are familiar with breathing, and to some degree, at least by now. So, but let me introduce you to the sentence completion. In fact, let's just have fun with it and combine the two. Yeah, again, sitting up comfortably straight. Take in several full deep
Uncross everything.
breaths. Pardon me?
Uncross everything. No
Yes.
crossed legs or arms.
Take in those breaths, just full, deep, gentle breaths, exhaling slowly, letting yourself be present, enjoying yourself. You can't fail. Continuing to breathe full and deep. Put one hand on your stomach, if you will, as you breathe in, you'll feel your hand extending out as your belly expands. And as you continue to breathe, during and with each exhale, I want you to make a vowel sound. The vowel we're going to use is I. And just breathe in, and then as you exhale, say that I. Do that several times. I. high. And as you continue to breathe, shift that slightly to saying during and with the exhale, I am.
I am.
I am. You're not going to say anything else, just those two words.
I am.
I am. Just do that with several breaths. Just feeling yourself relax, letting yourself go deeper. I am during and with the exhale. And as you get more comfortable, now let's just add another word. During and with the exhale, saying, I am afraid. You don't have to do anything with it. Just saying those three words. I am afraid.
I'm afraid.
And staying with it, every breath,
I am.
during, with each exhale. I am afraid.
I am
And if you
afraid.
continue, let's add to that during and with each exhale. I'm afraid that, or I'm afraid when. And let yourself finish that with whatever comes up.
I'm afraid that I look silly.
Yeah, there you go. I'm afraid that, or I'm afraid when. Just let
Afraid.
yourself be spontaneous. You find yourself going up in your head and trying to figure out what to say, just give that editor a break and just trust. Be spontaneous. Trust yourself.
I'm afraid
Afraid
when I'm exposed like this.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Deeper and deeper. And now, as you continue to breathe and exhale, let's shift it to I need and complete that with whatever comes up. I need.
Love.
You might say something that doesn't make sense. You might say something that doesn't seem true. You might say something that is a surprise. That's okay.
Friendship.
You don't need to edit it. You don't need to judge it. Just trust. See what comes out.
I need happiness.
Indeed. Have fun with it. See what comes out. Be spontaneous.
I need to breathe.
I need. And as you continue breathing, let's shift that to I want. Just from a place of curiosity. Just watch what comes out.
I want a
Taking a
swimming pool.
breath in, saying and completing I want. Just
I want everyone to
curious.
be happy.
No judgment. Doesn't have to be right, doesn't have to be true. Just see what comes out.
To continue growing.
You're listening to what another part of you might be saying, perhaps.
I want to be healed.
Now let's shift into saying and completing either what I need the most is or what I want the most is. Choose one or switch back and forth. Breathing in, during with the exhale. What I need the most is.
What I need the most is breath work.
Finish it with whatever comes up.
What I need the
The deeper
most.
you can go, the more spontaneous you can be, the more healing it's going to be for you. Stay with it for a moment.
I lost it. I went in
What
my
I
head.
want the most is.
What I want the most is competence.
Okay. So way to go. You know, you've put your toes in the water of breathing. But in response to Kara's question, the real combination of breathing and sentence completion is so powerful is because it integrates both psychologically and cognitive processing. It bypasses that overthinking and puts us in touch with our deeper thoughts. It allows different aspects of ourselves that we might not normally listen to voice what they feel, what they need, what they want. And it allows us, each time you do that, you really are recognizing, oh, I have these different wants and needs. I have these different fears. And of course, you can use a sentence completion in a myriad of ways, but it's a truly holistic method of emotional healing and increasing self-awareness. So understand that breathing affects the nervous system, regulating stress, anxiety, and emotions. And while sentence completion engages that frontal cortex, allowing the brain to process and reframe emotions, beliefs, and trauma memories, together they're creating a bridge between the body, the felt experiences, and the mind, your conscious awareness. And it's that combination that encourages self-compassion. You're shifting from your self-talk from being judgmental to understanding. And so this process literally, and I want you to really get the plasticity that you maybe heard that word. Our brains are very plastic in terms of they're capable of changing and growing and developing. And this process is literally neurologically rewiring and empowering your brain, creating new neural pathways and reinforce positive and adaptive beliefs. So you can begin to look at what doesn't work and understand what you're at the effect of, but also to establish new, more supportive beliefs. And it's that combination of breathing and sentence completion also lowers your mental defense. So certainly in my work, as people are breathing, that defense is lowered. They feel safer. They feel more open. They're being more spontaneous. And that allows deeper emotions and insights to surface and heal. So think in terms of sentence completion as making subconscious memories conscious. And that's where you become truly more self-aware. Maybe a simple way to say it is, let me share this. So before breath work, a client might say something like, I feel anxious, but don't know why. That's because they're feeling that, but they're up in their head trying to understand something that isn't up in their head. It's down in their gut. But after they're breathing, then they may say something like, oh, I realize my anxiety is coming from fear or failure and that is based in my childhood. And I see that on the initial call with people, that discovery call that I have. It's so fun because they're really able, even within that first hour, they don't know me, but I hopefully creating a safe, supportive environment for them to begin to explore so they can get to know themselves. But they begin to recognize, oh, that outer problem, that outer solution that I've been looking for, that outer problem that I've been blaming my life on is really an inner opportunity to heal and to grow. And that's going to be access, what will take me into my next level of life, allowing me to evolve and become a better leader, a parent, partner, everything. So breathing is what I watch is it's like a way to gently go a step down deeper into your awareness, allow you to step down into levels of knowing deeper truths about yourself that you just forgot. You cut off because they weren't safe. But in that journey, I'm basically a guide. I take people on this path. And I've traveled it on my own early in my work, but certainly traveled with thousands of people. And all I'm doing is guiding them on this path where they're becoming more self-aware as they journey on that path. And that path leads to deeper self-awareness, self-acceptance. It leads to a place where they're more connected and whole and confident. And so that changes all aspects of their life.
It's absolutely it massively changes everything.
Yeah.
A tiny follow-up. You're working with the subconscious, and when you're asking someone to finish a sentence, you're using a different part of the brain than when you ask them a regular question.
Yeah, I mean, when somebody's doing sentence completion, lots of times you can watch, they'll breathe more shallowly, they'll look up, they're up in their head looking for an answer that feels safe and won't embarrass them. And nothing's going to come out that'll surprise anybody that, they don't want to say something that is uncomfortable for them. But as soon as they start breathing again, then they start things coming out that, sometimes I go, well, that's not true. And it's like, well, it is true for a part of them. Or that didn't make sense, or I don't understand that. But as they breathe into that and we go even deeper, then they go, wow, because they're reconnecting. They're, discovering different aspects of themselves. They're becoming more self-aware and whole.
It's a great place to be. What are some of the common pitfalls that people have when they start off and they're trying this? How can they avoid those?
Well, I'd have to say when they're working with somebody who knows what they're doing, there really aren't any. But if you're on your own, you might experience the mind getting distracted and bored. Usually, when that's happening, is really just a way to avoid the emotions that might be coming up or deeper truths that you don't want to see. You might feel lightheaded due to oxygen CO2 imbalances. That just means you're taking in or not taking in enough, or breathing out too hard, or something that, if you were with somebody guiding you, you wouldn't be doing. You might be over breathing, hyperventilating. That throws everything off and brings up things that you might not be comfortable with. And you know, um, because we have that inner cave that we've put all our emotional backlog in, we're trying to keep that door closed. When you start to breathe, that door begins to, sneak open. And they're like, oh, wait a minute. And so you might feel a tightness in your chest and in your belly. And that's a good thing. It's just a sign that you're trying to hold it in, and rather than open it. And perhaps that's the best choice if you're out in the middle of a situation where, you want to, take care of yourself. But when you're starting to work on yourself and you want to get more aware, then yeah, open that up, trust that. Um, you know, you might find yourself being overwhelmed by racing thoughts or emotional release if you're doing it correctly. But you might not feel comfortable handling those, and that's why you want to do that in a safe, supportive place, So, so it's like anything, people talk about wanting to meditate, but they don't get results in 3 days, so they quit, Breathing can be the same way. It's like, well, that didn't work. I tried it for 2 minutes for five days, and no, that didn't work. It's not uncommon
Yeah.
for me to ask people, do you meditate? And I go, oh, yeah. And it turns out they meditate for about 5, maybe 10 minutes a day at the most. And, I've been meditating for well over 50 years. And in 5 or 10 minutes, I haven't even really started my meditation. Meditation to me means that you're breathing, you're using your breath as your single pointed focus to get down to a place where your mind gets quiet. And that's when your meditation is starting. And most people, that they're not going to accomplish that in 5 or 10 minutes. They might relax, but as soon as they get too quiet, then that's good enough. They don't want to go further. So if you're working, with a guide, you're not going to experience any of what we just talked about. So I did write something down I want to share with you. If you're doing it on your own, what I'd suggest is start slow and gentle, especially if you're prone to anxiety or even dizziness. And be consistent, even if it's just for 1 or 2 minutes daily. Just set your intention and stay with it. It's just getting used to it lots of times, getting more comfortable with it. And lots of times people say, well, I don't have time. It's like, well, pair it with something that you're already doing. If you go for a walk, if you're sitting watching the news, if you're driving somewhere, just that's when you use your breathing and develop those habits and make it easier to remember. If emotions arise, and I understand that might be comfortable, breathe into and through them slowly, and of course seek support if you need it, but it's just, you can breathe into and through anything, literally. So you're just beginning that process. And track your progress and stay motivated, even if it's small shifts. Those small shifts are going to be countering those big shifts that you've, been going through all of your life. I'd really recommend, to be honest with you, as I did, work with a qualified coach who can guide you on your journey. I don't know whether we can do it on our own. I really don't. It's I was listening to a podcast earlier today. It was one of my clients, and he was talking about the work, and he was a central part of what he was talking about is the safety that he felt like he was in. It was safe enough for him to be present with himself, to breathe, and to look more deeply within himself. And so, find someone you can work with who can create that safety for you, so that you can discover who you are and access the capabilities and create the life that you're worth, really, capable of creating, that you're certainly worthy of.
It's funny, we were working together in person. Just so the rest of you know, I've been working with Dr. Ron now for 6, 7 months probably. And as a client, he's an executive coach, and it has been incredible. And he told me at the beginning what he just said. He said, you got into these problems in relationship. You need to get out of them in relationship. And it didn't ring true. It didn't, like, it was just, okay, those were words. And we were working together, and I was breathing, and you were asking me something, sentence finishing, about when I am the most fully present. And I said, it's when I'm coaching with someone, or I'm on stage with someone, or da da da. And it was just like this. And my eyes opened up, and I looked at you and said, that's why you have to do it in relationship, is because you won't do it for yourself. You will get distracted. You don't want to go down into that cave. That's why you have it there. And so having a guide that will safely lead you through this is absolutely invaluable. I cannot talk enough about it. And yes, I'm a coach. And yes, I actually am using a lot of what I'm learning from Dr. Ron with my coaching clients. So I do have a dog in the race, I guess. However,
Stake in the
guys,
game.
I'm telling you, I'm telling you, I have literally been working on self-development since 1990, pretty much nonstop. So I've been pouring into the 10%, that little bit of my brain, for all these years. And within less than 6 months of having a guide lead me through this, it, the inside of my world is drastically improved. Drastically improved. It's indescribable. You gotta try it. It's kind of like a Lay's potato chip. No one can eat just one.
I mean, I want everybody to understand. I didn't just, sit and meditate and come up with all this stuff. I got out of the Marine Corps in 1967, was just 1968 when I got out, and I was a mess. I'd lost, several dozen close friends in Vietnam. I didn't know, I was kind of a jock at the time. I didn't know how to process things, and to be honest with you, I really became suicidal. And so all of these things were things that I learned on a very difficult journey to come back out of that and to rediscover and decide who I wanted to be. I realized in the Marine Corps that I was there because I was trying to fulfill my father's dreams and his rules and his everything. And he's a great guy, and I don't not criticizing him for that, but it was I had to figure out who I was. I had to fall in love with myself and accept my beliefs and my understandings of what my life was about. And that's where you become that authentic person. And that's why high level leaders, do this inner work so that they can really become more in touch with and connected with themselves, so they can be more empathetic and compassionate, not only with themselves, but others, create safer environments, and the result being more productive and profitable. So, it just works. It works really well.
You know what? We could have just done that. We could have just come on and said it just works.
It
Because it just does. It just works, and it's
does.
incredible.
It's worked for thousands of people over 45 years. It works.
It works. And you keep saying those big numbers, and it's not possible considering you're only 29.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was a past life thing.
Oh, got it. Okay. Okay, there we go. There we go. So what areas does controlling your breath improve?
Well, yeah, I mean, your mental clarity and focus, enhances your concentration, reduces that brain fog that is there, and to whatever degree. You know, it helps with emotional regulation, helping you to manage stress, anxiety, anger, overwhelm. You know, those things that, you know, so, you know, I remember when I was young, I was driving down the road and if somebody cut me off, I would, oh, you know, I'd go into this road rage, not too badly, but, you know, certainly disproportionate to what was going on. And I realized, wow, that that is emotional backlog coming up. You know, a friend of mine, John Gray, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, you know, he talked about this. And yeah, so if your emotions, you know, if you, so maybe you find yourself bawling and it's like, what am I, you know, seems disproportionate. Nothing wrong with that. But, you know, it's like, that just means you have emotional backlog that you're at the effect of and that, you know, you were quiet for a moment and that cave door opened and they came rushing out, or, you know, you got angry and opened it up because you weren't trying to keep it closed. So, you know, and physically, you know, it lowers your blood pressure, boosts your immunity, and improves lung capacity. You know, those lungs, most people are only using the top third or half of their lungs. And so the lower part of their lung is really, you know, you've got these beautiful big balloons in there that you want to breathe into and fill them with oxygen. And it, you know, filters, you know, the blood picks up all that oxygen in the lungs and breathes it, takes it all through the body. And really, quite literally, that's the energy, that's the fuel for each cell in your body. And so when you're doing that, and certainly for the brain, if not more than anything, you're fueling your body. And you know, people talk about health so much, but if they're not breathing, they're not as nearly as healthy as they could be. You know, so learning to control your breath improves your energy, your stamina, certainly the quality of your sleep. You know, as you're breathing, it calms the nervous system for a deeper, more restorative sleep. You know, and your mind-body awareness is enhanced because it strengthens that connection between the emotions and the psychology. You know, you're not going to have that connection if you're trying to shut off a part of yourself. It's with opening those cave doors, breathing in and healing the past. So that's what empowers the future. But it also, in reconnecting and you becoming authentic and all of those wonderful things, it also opens up your heart, which allows you to open up your mind, which is when you truly access the best of who and what you are. You know, people just don't realize the big capabilities that they have. It's just, yeah, you know, you become more resilient, able to handle stress and trauma, you know, and as we talked about, it rewires your nervous system, you know, for greater control. You know, something comes up, something quite literally, something could come up in my life that would have thrown me off for a month or two earlier in my life. Within a couple of breaths, I'm back present and handling it in a more supportive way that, you know, makes it safe and comfortable for everybody. But it also, you know, and I talked about this, it raises your level of consciousness. It helps you become more emotionally intelligent. You're more aware of your own emotions, more, you know, compassionate and empathetic with yourself. And that allows you to be vulnerable and open and create a safe place where you can be compassionate and empathetic with others' emotions. And that connection, that deep connection with yourself is mirrored in your relationships with others, certainly in your primary relationships with your kids, partnering, but also in your work environment. And that brings everybody together. And that allows everybody to feel safe, that all of a sudden people start working together as a team, and all of a sudden you're more productive and things are more profitable. I mean, all of my clients, and I'm not, you know, I'm not exaggerating, their incomes, you know, at least double. You know, there's 50 years of research that shows that just through this work that you're going to increase your profits and productivity by 40%. But that's the minimum, you know. You start getting everything in alignment within yourself, within your world, and all of a sudden everything works better. And you're much more successful and more at ease and enjoying your life more fully. So yeah, that's what it's
You know, I
about.
love that. Guys, we're about to go to the questions. I know that we've got a few, so please, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat and we'll get those answered for you here in a second.
Mhm.
When you said to pair that Atomic Habits is a great book that I've talked about a lot on this podcast. And what you said about pairing your breathing with something you're already doing, they call that habit stacking. And it is a brilliant way to breathe.
Okay.
It's what Tony Robbins calls net time, no extra time. You're already doing this. You're already doing the dishes. Breathe while you're doing the dishes. You're already taking a walk. Breathe while you're taking a walk. All those things are super powerful. So you said that the breathing is a safe emotional release from what's in your body.
Yes.
So this has been, I would say, by far the most shocking thing to me as a client, is the actual physical shaking, releasing so literally these traumas that could have happened to you 50 years ago, you have them stored in your body somewhere.
Indeed. I see it all the time. Everybody handles it differently, but the truth is you can get to a place where you can breathe into and through whatever's coming up for you. But initially it can be a little disconcerting because you feel like
Yeah, like what the heck? Oh
you
my
might feel like
goodness, I've
you're
been carrying that around.
yeah. I want to mention I have a program, and I should just give the whole program away, but it's called Breathing in Success, and I think you have the that link, and I'm just going to give away the first 3 modules of that so everybody can at least get a sample of it, not so that you can buy the rest, but so that you have something to work with. Do you have that? Can we put that link up on the
Yes, Sweeney, I don't know. I know you're in there somewhere. If it's not already on there, please do put that on there. There's
Yeah.
also, guys, a link so that you can do a discovery call with Dr. Ron or with myself. It's for an hour. It costs you absolutely nothing. And
Yeah.
it's just a cool way to kind of figure out, is this something that would work? And are you the safe person that I can do it with? And I will tell you, when I hired Dr. Ron, I didn't hire him because I felt like he was safe. I hired him because I felt like he would not put up with my silliness and he would hold my feet to the fire, which he has done also very safely. I have never felt as safe as I am when I'm really in it with him. And you get to go to an island. It's pretty cool. He lives on an island right off of Seattle. So anyway, we will get into some of the questions. Is there anything else, Dr. Ron, that I didn't ask you that I should have before I go to these questions?
Well, I hadn't planned on it, but if somebody does want to do a discovery call with either of us, why don't we just give them that link to the whole 30-day program just as a bonus?
Oh, hey guys, now this is live. I couldn't have asked for anything better than that. So if you will sign up, if you do sign up for a discovery call within the next week, before next week when we get on our live one, we've got 2 more of these to come. If you do sign up for a discovery call, you'll not only get 3 days worth of the breathing, you'll get the whole shebang. It's 30 days and it's like hand holding right through there. So
Yeah.
that sounds like a heck of a deal.
Well, a few minutes of every day, and just introduces the different types of breathing, different styles of breathing. So you really get a menu, a smorgasbord of options that you can play with and continue to use as you wish.
Okay, so our first question is from Mustafa. And how do I get used to this? Mustafa, that I don't understand what you're asking. Do you understand what he's asking there?
How does it
How do
use
I
the breathing?
this? Oh, wait. There's more. There's more. Okay.
There's more.
There's more. There was a different page. Okay.
One of those TV commercials. Then there's more.
But wait, for $29.99.
Yeah.
Okay. If I can do this process when I get triggered and do it every time when I get triggered, maybe there's more. Hold on. Maybe there's a third one. Let's see. Come on, go away. So, there we go. Why can I not get used to being triggered easily. So my question is that I am 100% agree that this method is perfect, but the problem is how to make this a habit. There we go. How do you make this a habit?
It's a great question. And the important thing to recognize, I have a lot of friends in personal development, personal growth field, and they've got these amazingly, developed programs, but they, in truth, and they recognize it, they only have about a 3% success rate. And the truth is because people haven't dealt with this emotional backlog, that what they're sharing is just, it's information, not transformation. And so, and I'm just got disconnected again. I'm thinking about somebody, one of my friends in his program. So think in terms of your mind, you're only aware of about 5, maybe 10% of your thoughts. And that leaves another 95% of your thoughts doing whatever they want to do, thinking whatever they want to think. And that emotional backlog that we're talking about, those thoughts have full access. They come from that emotional backlog. So you might come up with this perfect plan of, I'm going to breathe every day. I'm going to do this. I'm going to change that. I'm going to become this. But that other 95% says, well, that's nice, and just sort of washes that thought away. So maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3. All of a sudden it's dissipating, and it's like, well, that didn't work, and I'm not going to do that anymore. And so you really, many of the things that I see people promoting out there and the things that they teach will work, but they'll only work if you've really regained control of your mind and control of your life. And that means really doing this deeper healing, becoming self-aware and emotionally intelligent enough so that that 90% isn't sabotaging the rest of your life. I know I don't want to get too long on this, but I kind of tell this analogy of people, they're driving through down the freeway of life, and they've got their foot on the gas pedal. And, and they're aware of that. And even in our initial calls, it's like, oh yeah, I'm doing that. And some of them have pushed pretty hard, and they're really reaching and trying to create amazing lives. But what they understand very quickly in our discussion is they also have the other foot on the brake. And when we really talk about it, they begin to understand that, well, they might have 40, 50% of their energy on the brake, maybe more. So they don't need to push down on the gas more. They just need to let off on the brake. And that is an analogy for really healing that emotional backlog, becoming whole, integrated, and complete and authentic again. Is you're taking off all those guide, controls so that you're not spending most of your energy trying to keep those gates, that cave door shut. My mentor, Joseph Campbell, he said something like, I remember we were walking in Big Sur when he shared it with me the first time, and it was something like, you've got to enter that cave, you've got to enter the cave within that you fear to enter so you can access the treasure that you seek. And that treasure is you. That treasure is that love that you've always wanted. That treasure is all, everybody has an image of what they'd like to be living, how they'd like to be living. And that's what you're capable of. It truly is. But you can't do it with one foot on the brake. You've got to really access all of who and what you are so that you can be complete enough, whole enough, smart enough, accessing, not only higher level thinking, but what I call big mind, which is going into silence and accessing, having a mind that's so agile that you're able to really comfortably deal with all aspects of this ever more complex and challenging business world and life that we're in.
That's beautiful. There is a follow-up. Second question is what is the role of language for people if English is their first language? Speaking their mind is more spontaneous but for people with a second language, it's a little bit different because you don't want your brain, you're not sure what your brain is translating.
Well, it's been a while, but I had centers in Europe. And so I had people from all kinds of different countries coming there. I have people in India that I work with currently and from other countries, and it just doesn't seem to matter. The truth is, I've been in situations where I didn't even know what they were saying, but the process was still working. So, don't complicate it. Don't look for reasons why it won't work. Just use your language or translate it. It won't matter. It won't matter at all. Yeah.
So it's as if what I'm hearing you say, it's as if until we heal, we have this enemy that's inside of us that is fighting us, and we're oblivious to it.
I wouldn't say it's an enemy. I would say we've put our ego in charge of making sure that that door stays shut so that we can protect ourselves and be accepted and loved by others. As we learn to accept and love ourselves, then we begin to shift that focus. And so all of a sudden, we're not giving up our power to others and putting others in charge of our life and how we feel and what we do, what choices we make. And so it's just through the process, you're just giving your ego a new job. The ego is not, it's just there to support you in working, living your life. So what my ego's job is to, ego, your job is to breathe, is to be curious and be present. And that's the only job my ego has. It's the most important job, but it's not in conflict. It's in alignment with what's best for me and everybody that I work with and live with. So it's just giving your ego a different job. There might be there certainly are areas or aspects of yourself that are sabotaging your life. No doubt about that. But they're doing it really from the best of intentions. They really are. And it's really a matter of developing a relationship, learning to accept and embrace and reintegrate those aspects of ourselves so that we can become whole. It's not a matter of, fighting with yourself, not a matter of cutting part of you. I remember way back, I'd be talking about healing the inner child, and they go, I just want to throw it away. I just want to cut it off. I won't just get rid of it. It's like, well, good luck with that. It's going to be an aspect of yourself no matter what. Think in terms of it's. Think if you're a family and you've got kids and you go out for a picnic and near the woods, and you've had this marvelous day. The kids have been playing, and it's okay. It's time. We're putting the materials together and getting ready to go, and all of a sudden you can't find one of your kids. And of course, you're going to kind of like, oh my God. And you start looking all over. You start enrolling other people and you start calling the authorities. You do whatever you can. And weeks go by, months go by, and you haven't been able to find that child. So, a couple of years have gone by, and you're sitting there on a rainy night reading a quiet book, and the book's not quiet, you want, but you know, and as you're reading, you hear a knock on the door, and that knock on the door, you finally, oh, okay, you get up and you open the door, and there's that child. What are you going to do? You're going to slam that door on that child? You can see all the hurt. You can see all the anger, the fear, the shame. You can see it all in their face, in their body. What are you going to do? You have a choice.
Scoop them up.
Scoop them up and
Love
hug
them.
and help them go through everything that they need to go through, which is called healing the inner child, which is a big part of the work that I do early on. It only takes a couple of months, trust me. Or you're going to slam the door and be at the effect of that for the rest of your life. Be disconnected, separate, diminished, quite literally, in so many ways. That's the choice we have.
It is a choice, and I would say that's one of the biggest ahas about doing the work is that we actually literally, I totally lost what I was going to say. I'll give you his third question here.
Well, let me wrap that up just real quick. What you're
Please.
not changing, you're choosing.
Woo, one more time.
What you're not changing. If something's not working in your life, but you're not changing it, then you're choosing that.
Okay, so if someone has something huge in their life that they're dealing with that is horrendous, that they hate about themselves, that they hate that they have this tendency to whatever, guys, whatever it is, no judgment, a sex
I
addiction, a gambling problem,
trust me, I have worked with
all
everything.
of them.
I have worked with people who have experiences that most of us couldn't even imagine. Yeah.
Right. And so you're going through all that stuff and you realize, you have that realization like, oh my gosh, this is so wrong. I hate the way I'm acting. And if you don't go get help, you're
You don't
choosing
change it. You're
that.
choosing
That
that.
is your choice to continue doing the thing that you hate.
And being diminished and at the effect of it. And so everything, all the struggles in life are nothing but indicators that there's a part of you that's ready to heal. And as you heal those parts, those struggles become opportunities. Quite literally, your whole perspective changes. You know,
Yeah,
it's a
being
good.
at the effect of things, I don't believe that well, I can only go on my own personal. I had no idea how much I was at the effect of things that had happened a long, 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 long time ago. I just didn't even know how could they possibly be affecting me. I was of the mind that if it's back there, leave it back there. And
Yeah.
now I could not feel differently. The freedom of
Yeah.
going through that tunnel, guys, of just saying that I'm just tired of me. I have got to do something different. And then you face it and you go through that tunnel, you come out on the other end. And like Dr. Ron said, it's an 8-week program to dump all that stuff. Could you talk about the anchor?
Well, I will. Let me just a little clarity on that. It's not in 8 weeks, it's not like everything is healed, but everything that's critical is healed. All the main stuff has been healed. But you then have the tools, the ability to deal with whatever comes up for the rest of your life. I have to admit, I've done a tremendous amount of personal development work through my life, but it wasn't until I was 60 and I was in a particular safe environment working with a mentor of mine that I had the experience of all of the people all my friends who had died in Vietnam came up. And, the truth was, I just wasn't ready to deal with that most significant trauma of my life until I had done all the healing that I needed to that point. But that wasn't it was a difficult experience. But I was also, within me, there was this cheerleader go, way to go. Finally, we've got to this place of ultimate healing, of the darkest, deepest, scariest part of me. And so, yeah, but it's a matter of being empowered enough so that you can go on this journey and continue on your own, so that you can continue to connect and accept and love yourself and become that whole authentic person that you're certainly capable and worthy of being.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I want to expand on that a little bit for our listeners. The fact that Dr. Ron has gone through what he's taking me through, and he's taking so many other people and has taken thousands of people through. And the fact that the Vietnam incident didn't come up until he was 60 should give you a bit of security that nothing is going to come up that you can't handle
Yeah.
until you can handle it. Because this is a scary proposition, right? Like, okay, come open this up, doctor. Just dig all this stuff out.
Yeah.
Right?
No, nothing. I mean, if I could shout it to the world, I would say all of your challenges, all of your struggles, when you're feeling overly emotional, those are nothing, literally, they're nothing but indicators that there's a part of you that's ready to be healed. And that's what you're going to be accessing and healing are the parts that are ready to be healed. And yes, as you do that, new parts, and additional parts will go, yeah, oh yeah, I'd like to, but nothing ever comes up that someone isn't able to easily or comfortably handle. might be a little scary because they've, held that door closed so tightly. But as they open it, I remember anger for me when it came up. I was working with a very sophisticated couple in emotional healing back when in my 20s. And I just said to them, I could feel the anger. And I said, if I let this anger out, I will destroy this building. And I knew I wouldn't. Anyway, it's a large concrete building in LA. So I knew I wouldn't, but there was that much energy around, that much fear. There was so much holding that in from throughout my life. And when it came out, it was just this peep. It was so embarrassingly insignificant. But it was that, oh, I can't let that out. That's not acceptable in my family. But when it came out, it was hardly anything. And I'd
Wow.
been at the effect of it all my life. Yeah.
One of the reasons that I love working with you so much is because you are so vulnerable and you're so authentic and you share you're not coming from on high. You're not, okay, come on, all you little people who don't know what's going on. I can help you. You're just like, hey, I've been there, I've done that, and I want to help you not have to do that anymore.
I've even come from on high in my 30s and it didn't work.
It never does.
Working
It
on
never
like
does.
oops.
Well, yeah, and that's where we get to start over. So this third question from Mustafa, I love this question. Is that the benefits that you mentioned are they just at that time, or while you're breathing, or will it change your brain forever?
Literally, it changes your brain forever. Quite literally. Just as what you've done has changed your brain, and your brain will stay changed. But as soon as you do that, it rewires your brain and upgrades your brain, and you literally access higher levels of thinking, and that can take you to a place where you're accessing wisdom and connection with all of who and what you are. And you start living mindfully. You start embracing significant personal transformational experiences on a regular basis. And it's that combination that really creates the highest level, most conscious and effective leaders.
And you've done a couple of those.
Once or twice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. So guys, thank you all so much for being here with us. We're halfway through. It's a 4-part series. We're halfway through. Um, we love having the questions. We love that you can also still watch this after it. I don't know how long it takes, but it'll put it up under the live tab when you go to um, on YouTube. When you go to Casa Dream Team, when you go to Think Your Way to an Epic Life, you can hit the live tab and you'll see all 4 of them when they're all 4 in there. So guys, please, if there's someone in your world that you think could benefit from this, please send them to this. Send this to them. That would be it.
Either way.
Either way, it'll happen. And is there anyone who doesn't need this, Dr. Ron?
The people who need it are the people who want to grow, who want to discover who they are, who want to reconnect and create that inspiring, amazing life that they know they're worthy of. If you want to stay in a little comfort zone, think in terms of a comfort zone as really this is the highest level of consciousness that I'm comfortable in, and this is the lowest. And so I'll modify my life accordingly. If I get too high, then I'll overeat or drink or whatever. If I get too low, I'll pay more attention and get more sleep. But it's like begin, to heal so that you can live a life where you're evolving all the time. It's like a lobster. They literally once a year a lobster feels this kind of a niggle or disruption in their energy, and they know it's time to go into their den and shed their old shell so they can grow a new larger shell and evolve into that. And they know if they don't shed that old shell, they'll die. And the same is true for us. If you get locked into a limiting comfort zone, it is killing you. And I'm not talking metaphorically, I'm talking about literally, because you're not breathing, you're not taking care of yourself, and you're not being kind to yourself and others. And so, yeah.
And,
It's
and how much of that backlog really was never you at all? It was parents, teachers,
oh
society.
I mean, it's passed down. I think of it in terms of an emotional family tree. And somebody has to finally go up into that emotional family tree and cut out all the dead wood. I was got Japanese maples all over my property, and I was up in, trimming several of them the other day, and a lot of dead wood in there. And it's like, well, if I want it to grow a certain way, then I trim off some of those that are growing up or out or over. And what I was really doing was really designing them for the next few years of their life so that they'll have plenty of light, so that they'll really have the beauty and ability to be nourished and take care of themselves. And yeah, and that's what you're doing with your life.
Yeah, be intentional, guys. Don't
Yep.
be in reaction all the time. I would say that's probably one of the biggest differences for me personally, is before my work with Dr. Ron, I was always reacting to what everyone else needed. I'm a recovering people pleaser now, and it is so freeing. It is just so freeing. So click the links below if you'd like a discovery call. And remember, if you do a discovery call before next week, you get the 30-day breath work with Dr. Ron leading you. And I'm telling you guys, when you do the modules, when you do get coaching from him, you do these modules and you get to hang out with him even when you're not hanging out with him, because you're listening to meditations, you're listening to breathing exercises, and it is just his energy is very peaceful. You will enjoy it. So once again, thank you so much.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank everyone. Appreciate you coming and hopefully giving you some insight. And I do truly enjoy getting on discovery calls with folks and exploring what their biggest challenge is, where they want to get to in their life, and really laying out a path so that you can do that. Yeah, just that understanding will help you tremendously. So good.
There you go. Can't go
Be
wrong, guys.
be well.
Thank you. Have a wonderful evening.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.